Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Black Book Today. My name's Sam McKee.
And I'm Bob Hayden.
And we thank you for joining us. The world of harness racing has so many great storylines and so many great personalities. And Bob, you've talked to several of them.
That's right. We're going to take you inside the world of harness racing, inside this very complex here, as the entire harness racing universe is here the first week of November at Harrisburg. We're going to find out who the major players are and who's hot and who's not.
Enjoy this edition of the Black Book Today.
In an attempt to lure some trainers and drivers and breeders and owners, we put out a brunch buffet, and it worked. Join us now for some interviews we call Breakfast with Bob here at Harrisburg.
I'm not a first crop sire person myself. I usually let them slide by, and if I got to pay a premium the next year, well, so be it. But I remember the first year of Run the Table, like I just couldn't look at a son of landslide, and I passed. And of course, they just next year I went back and give 44 for one. You know, it's just the way it is. You know.
Well, are sires allowed, in your mind or in general, to have a bad year? You think?
Well, the worst part about a sire is it's the trainers. The trainers will make them or break them, because if they're not training good all over the country in March or April, I mean, the trainers can pretty well kill the sire, you know. The sires myself, I believe more in the bottom line, the mare, and that's what I look for, that I think is most important, is the mare herself. But I mean, the sire plays an important part to it, but yeah, it's not unusual for a sire to have a bad year, you know.
You were the man actually who sold Valley Victory back in '87, I guess, as a yearling. What did you see in Valley Victory initially when you first laid eyes on him?
Well, he was, as I recall, and that being some time ago, he was a first crop of Baltic Speed who had been a very successful horse on the track, and he wasn't a very big colt, but he had an extreme length. And the first time I saw him, he was trotting across the paddock, and I had just met Mr. Weaver. I'd been good friends with Vernon Dancer and met him, and I just said I'd like to sell that colt. And it developed into as good a relationship as any two people could have in this business.
Now, Valley Victory basically changed the trotting breed. Fast forward to 2005, 2006. Is Andover Hall the type of horse, in your opinion, that possibly could do the same type of thing, you think?
Oh, I think it's very possible. I think we have to do the things that Valley Victory's done. We need a little more time. He needs, you know, he certainly right now it looks like he could. But, you know, in this business things change. And, you know, hopefully he will. We need horses like that to come along periodically that do change our breed.
And a lot of the buyers, yearling buyers, do tend to like the first and second crops of sires.
Yes, they do, but and they've been very nice horses. I've been blessed to have a few last year, not quite as many this year, but they're very easy horses to deal with, and they show a lot. And of course, what they've done on the racetrack has made my job a lot easier.
So, if you're going to recommend to someone, do you go the established Western Hanover route, or do you go the first crop route? You know, like Andover Hall was a blaze last year, obviously. Where do you go, or do you go anywhere there?
Well, it depends on the individual. In our business, we're always selling the sizzle rather than selling the steak. But I think there's a lot of people would rather go with a known entity. And when you go with a horse like Western Hanover, you know what you're getting. And this year, the hot young sire is Art Major. Fortunately, we have a number of those to sell. But there's always the risk factor. You're betting on potential, and sometimes it happens, and if we wanted to, we could name a couple of stallions that it didn't happen for. Andover Hall, I've never seen anything like him. I mean, I've been in the business for 40 years, and I've never seen a first crop trotting stallion have a year like he had. I would say the closest thing to it is No Nukes' first crop when he went in, and I actually wasn't that crazy about No Nukes because I'd seen him do, you know, he was kind of like Andover Hall. Big money's on the line, he would do something stupid, but everybody knew the kind of speed he had. And in Andover Hall's case, we did jump on that bandwagon, and it's really paid off.
Yeah, and No Nukes who had Natty LaBelle and Jayden LaBelle from the first crop, and among a lot of good ones, and became a $100 million sire.
I remember somebody saying when those first crop of No Nuke started racing, they were so impressive. They said, what are we going to do with the rest of the stallions? But, you know, it kind of settled out.
Going to be a big presence at the Harrisburg sale from France, and Italy, and Sweden, and Norway, you think?
Absolutely, always will be, because it's a certain dramatic urge to get American horses, because you know, when you combine them with French blood, for instance, you get a very strong horse, and that interest is increasing in Europe at this point.
Now, you're a very scrupulous yearling inspector. Tell us, when you're looking at a yearling, first 1, 2, 3 things you look at. What's the most important things to look at in your mind?
Well, first we look at the angles up front. If the horse stands really crooked, I stop looking. If he passes that test, we go to the overall look, the body and the conformation overall. And if it looks interesting and fairly short neck, high withers, light body, good hock angle, long pasterns, then I go to measure the horse, and then we measure the breast depth and the length, and that's about it. But this is now things that I learned from my father, that has been experimenting and of course measuring horses on picture and live for a long time, and he came up with this theory that I think works, actually.
Are we going to see something that happened in thoroughbred racing, happened in harness racing? Sunday's Silence was a great horse here, then stood in Japan. Are we going to see a great horse like an Andover Hall, someone like that, immediately when they stop racing, go overseas, you think?
The world is getting smaller every day. I think that everybody now, especially in the trotting business, are getting together, and the guys with money, which are not all that many, but they will cooperate and work together.
The Bow River 14-karat gold fine jewelry collection has some of the most unique custom equine jewelry designs. With the master craftsmanship of our designers, we provide a piece of jewelry you'll treasure for years to come. We use state-of-the-art equipment, hand finishing, and quality stones to give you the craftsmanship in a piece of jewelry that you will enjoy. Our designs seek to capture the world of horses and the relationship they have with their owners. Wearing one of these unique designs will reflect this. Our satisfaction guarantee ensures your complete satisfaction with our products. If you're not satisfied with our merchandise, return it to us in its original condition for an exchange or full refund within 30 days of purchase. You can be assured that our prompt and professional service will provide the service you expect.
In some ways, Linda, this year's Breeders' Crown for 2-year-old pacing colts was the best of times and the worst of times. Your colt, Kenneth J, opened everyone's eyes with a great performance, but you didn't get the trophy.
That's pretty much how I feel too. I think I had the best horse, but I just don't have the trophy to prove it.
And what a colt he was for you, the New York Sire Stakes champion, won a couple Grand Circuit races at Lexington, and you said that he's a colt that you can fire a quarter in 26 and back him right off, and he relaxes nicely.
That's it. That's his probably strongest point. It's also probably what got him beat in the elimination. And I think, it's funny how things work. I think if we had won the elimination, we would have been able to pick our post position, which might have put us in a different spot for the final. But yeah, he's very soft in the mouth. You can fire him up, you can leave a quarter in 26 seconds as he did in Lexington, and then all you have to do is close your hands over the lines and he shuts right down again.
And Kenneth J is a New York bred, and the earnings potential for those slot-infused sire stakes programs very evident by what he made this year.
Yeah, and but you do have to be able to get around a half. I mean, there is something to it. I mean, you can't just send a big strapping colt through that first turn at Buffalo. It's kind of a little bit of a different ball of wax.
Now, Linda Toscano has made her name as a trainer of racehorses, as a trainer of young horses. Where are you at right now with your stable, and which do you prefer?
It's almost all young horses at this point, and it's what I get the most pleasure out of doing. There's nothing, I find nothing more rewarding than finding that needle in a haystack and then bringing them along, and especially the ones that you don't pay the big numbers for, because I'm not really one that chases the hype, and I pretty much try to find that mid-range colt and then bring them along, and when it turns into a really nice horse, it's what I really enjoy. And I'm also enjoying the fruits of my labor, because I've been able to buy some mares that are now producing the J.K. Let It Rides that I'm also training for as the homebreds, so it's kind of fun.
Now, speaking of mares, Jetlog, tremendous horse, half-mile track world record, and a very popular horse because he was great. Do you have any colts by him?
I don't this year, but the best colt in Australasia is a Jetlog. A horse by the name of Lombard's Pocket Watch has won, I think, 18 out of 19 starts over there and has made almost $698,000 down there. So I did try a couple years, and I think Jetlog is going to stay in Australia, where he's doing really good work.
And one last question, Linda Toscano, do you ever train trotters or just concentrate on pacers?
I've been very fortunate to train some really good trotters. I trained Giant Mermaid at the end of her career, and she was the age trot mare of the year that year. I was able to train Lifelong Victory, and she set 2 world records during the period of time that I trained her. And just recently I had Funny Valentine, who was kind of fun to train also. She just got beat ahead in the Mariana Belt. So anyone I think that does this for a living and says that they don't enjoy training a trotter, they're frustrating, but they're also very rewarding.
Well, Linda Toscano, congratulations on another great year, and best of luck in 2007.
Thanks, Sam.
We've caught up with Bruce Nichols, and I guess it would be fair to call you a filly fanatic for all the success you've had with 2-year-old pacing fillies. Again this year with Me and My Baby, who had a sensational season for you. Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, her mother was a great mare. My daughter Brooke gave her a record of 151, won a lot of money, and she trained great, and we raced her at the Meadowlands early, and then she got sick at the wrong time, had a couple splints that really bothered her, and I missed a couple big races, one because she was sick, and then when I thought she was okay, I had a splint was bothering her too much, and I was afraid that something might happen, and she's got next year, the year after that to race. And she is a great filly, and I think, so I stopped with her. I missed some big races, a lot of money, but I think next year and the year after that, she'll go on, and she'll be a top filly. And
well, one of the keys to training horses is not necessarily just being able to train a horse and develop speed, it's management as well. And nowadays you can really pick your spots with a quality horse and put a lot of money on their card.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we stop with her now, because if I manage her right and take her to the right places and have her around, and she can go for a lot of money, and she'll make a lot of money, and we'll have a lot of fun with her. And with the slots that they wear around the country, there's a lot of money available. And she's just a great filly. I think she's a top filly. And I just hated to stop with her, but I think you'll see what will happen next year.
And you talk about the slots around the country, Pennsylvania just about up and running. We've seen what it's done for the New York program. You're here ready to buy some yearlings at Harrisburg, aren't you?
I'm looking. My pocketbook isn't the fattest in the world, but I'm looking. And I'd been out in the Midwest the last couple of years, but I think I'm going to head back up east now, because that's where the money is, and that's where I'm going to be anyway. So we'll be going to Florida soon and take it from there.
You've had so much success with the pacing fillies. Miss Easy, Follow My Star, Efficiency. Which of those horses was the best one you've ever had, Bruce?
Miss Easy was the fastest. Follow My Star was by far the easiest to train. I had a great filly for Susan Layden, Central Park West. Meant to be a great filly and got hurt. And I've had a lot of good fillies, but you know, when you got those good fillies and you got to take a little extra time, and you have an owner that'll go along with you, and it pays off. And, you know, I trained horses for Lou Gaida for about 6 years, and when he got a good one, he knew how to manage it, knew what to do with it, and I think he's missed in the industry too.
Well, Bruce Nichols, it's always nice to catch up with you, and it's good to see you back on top with another very good 2-year-old pacing filly.
Thank
Best
you very
of luck.
much. Thank you, Bud.
Concord Stud Farm, owned by David Beers III and his family, will offer over 40 top yearling prospects at this year's Harrisburg sale. Featured here is hip number 85, Vinnie's Dance. This is the second foal and first Andover Hall colt from Dance Girl, the $99,000 winning daughter of Dancer's Victory. She is the three-quarter sister to superstar True Blue Victory. Featured here is hip number 240, Swan of a Kind, the first credit winner colt from Swan Lake, dam of Magic Swan and Enjoy Levesque, who earned over $340,000. The addition of credit winner truly makes this one of a kind. Featured here is hip number 346, Marion Michelle. This Broadway Hall filly is the first foal from super race mare Sophie Let's Go, who won over $300,000, including a heat of the Kentucky Futurity over Windy Lane Hanover.
Hi, I'm Greg Schuler with the Horseman and Fair World magazine and harnessracing.com in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm the advertising sales director there. And I think most people in the harness racing business know my two guests today. They're Murray Brown with Hanover Shoe Farms. He's the public relations director there, and also with the Standard Horse Sales Company, the general manager. And also I have Art Zubrod. He's the general manager of Brittany Farms and Brittany Stallion Management, both headquartered in Versailles, Kentucky. And gentlemen, I welcome you here today and thank you for taking time out of a very busy week to join me. The title of our video segment here today is Book Full and Closed. And we're going to take a look at stallion marketing and advertising to see what's being done to get mares to your horses, but not just any mare. We're going to take a look at what's being done to get the right mares, the mares that have the produce record, the pedigree, the stakes performance that it takes to help sell a top-priced yearling. And both these guys know, I mean, racing performance is one thing, but it's really important to have a sire that's producing yearlings that are very marketable, especially those that can sell in the top levels of the market. And we're talking to people here at the Harrisburg Yearling Sale, and you folks out there that are buying fillies here this week, keep in mind you've got a potential broodmare on your hands down the road, and hopefully a good one. And that's the kind of people you really want to reach with your advertising. So first off, I'll direct this to Murray, and Art, you can answer too. What's being done today, like what type of mix do you use, advertising, marketing, to reach those mare owners, and not just any mare, to really focus on getting quality mares to your horses?
Basically, the real top horses are the horses that attract the top mares, and they don't need any selling. They sell themselves. And we've got a relatively small stallion market, which has increased somewhat in the last few years, but it's nevertheless there. And the hot horses get the top mares and the hot mares, and the other horses have to struggle.
Right. What about a new stallion, though? You have a new horse, and yeah, people are aware of that horse, but do you make any effort to or do you think those top mares generally gravitate to that kind of a stallion anyway?
I think the key thing with getting a new stallion is hopefully you're going to syndicate them, and you're going to syndicate, you're going to have people in your syndicate who have these top mares. And the fact that they own a piece of the horse gives them a lot more incentive to continue breeding to the horse until he's either proven or not.
Art, what about you? What kind of mix do you use, I guess?
On the advertising mix, well, we do have a weekly ad in publication, and we advertise in all the publications. We have a website that's very user-friendly, has the information on it about each stallion, and people can request booking applications or can fill out a booking application right online. It makes that easy for them. And as Murray said, putting together a syndicate is the best thing for your horse. Right. If you can get your horse syndicated, 50% of them syndicated or a little more, you're going to have full books. Well, what I try to do to get the right mare is if on new stallions, we discuss what we think would be the right mares for the horse, and we try to let the syndicate members and other people know when they call in for a booking, talk to them about their mares and try to let them know what we think.
In the thoroughbred business, the farms that have stallion stations, they have full-time salespeople on staff whose only job is to recruit brood mares for their stallions. They make cold calls to fillies and mares who've won graded stakes races. They offer mating analyses. They send out lavish gift baskets. They offer equine portfolios. And it's really gotten to be like guerrilla marketing with trying to get this particular mare into your stallion. And in harness racing, as our pie continues to shrink a little bit, and competition's getting tougher, do you guys ever foresee us going in that direction where we really are getting much more aggressive in our efforts to get mares to stallions? And Art, I'll let you kick
Well,
this off.
if I occasionally I'll call an owner with the specific mare in mind that I think would be a great cross to the horse. And actually, it's usually very well received. People understand that, that I wouldn't call them just to get a mare. I want to call them to get a mare that's going to produce a top foal that's going to help my stallion in the long run.
A cross that's worked previously and that kind of thing.
I don't ever foresee us being thoroughbred-like in that manner because we just have a limited number of stallions. And even though it is expanding, we probably have 3 times as many pacing stallions as we did, viable pacing stallions as we did 5 years ago, and maybe 4 or 5 times as many viable trotting stallions. So it is increasing, and there will be competition because we have a limited amount of mares.
Right. Murray?
So much depends on the individual situation. If you're talking about a horse that's right off the racetrack, I think our goal is to get as much diversity as we possibly can in order that sometime in the future we're able to determine what goes well with that horse. Right. For example, we had, and physically this would hopefully be, or suggested that it would be a good cross, several Donerail mares bred to Andover Hall. Now, with the results, Donato Hanover and Pampered Princess, it's obviously a very, very promising, if not a great cross. But you didn't know this going in, and perhaps some other mares might not cross as well. But getting as many to a young horse, I think, helps you over the long haul.
Well, guys, again, I thank you for being with me. Murray, you've got a lot of horses to sell here this week, and I hope your marketing efforts pay off and all your stallions have a great book next year.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Welcome to Pin Oak Lane as we begin our 34th year of continuous operation. Never have we been more excited to be part of the Pennsylvania standardbred industry. As most of you are aware, our racetrack licenses for slots have been issued, and we look forward to prosperity in both our racing and breeding industries in the coming years. We expect our sire stakes program to be approaching $15 million by the end of 2007-2008. In addition, we've initiated a $10 million Breeders' Fund program, and we expect our purses in Pennsylvania to approach $130 million at 4 different standardbred tracks around the state. I would like to introduce our 2006 consignment, which is made up of exclusively Pennsylvania sired yearlings. We have included Andover Hall, Broadway Hall, SJ's Photo, Dragon Again, and Real Artist. This is a very nice Andover Hall colt out of the Lindy Lane mare Weatherbird. It was raised at Hanover Shoe Farms, and we have high hopes that he'll be a nice colt. I have in my hand a beautiful Broadway Hall colt out of the Baltic Speed mare Bet on Baltic. We've had success selling these before at Harrisburg, and this is an absolutely outstanding individual, and we're very excited about him. We also have another Broadway Hall out of a full sister to No Nonsense Woman, a filly, which is very, very nice. In addition, we'll be offering SJ's Photo full brother to Fast Photo. Our consignment is very deep with brothers and sisters to very good horses. And we're pretty excited about the offerings that we have this year. Thank you.
Joined by Mr. Jerry Silverman, who back in 1966 sent out a Triple Crown winner by the name of Romeo Hanover. Jerry, you've been to a few of these sales. What's the biggest change you've seen in sales from then until today?
I see many more people coming. I see an increase in the interest from outsiders. And now it's managers, trainers, drivers come. And to me, it's a fun place and it's an interesting place.
When something works, a lot of people go back to it. You've had the Dam Grand Lady, who's had a lot of good ones, and especially Glowing Report this year. Tell us about that. How unusual is it to see the same dam year after year of the same good horses?
I've always been a believer in pedigree, and if I get lucky with one and there's no major flaws, I like to go back to the second one. I remember the years when it was Irvin Paul and Stephen Smith, then Romeo and Romulus. So to me, that's a factor.
This game changes year to year. We've just recently lost Arts Place. Andover Hole last year was a hot first crop sire. What do you think about the first crop sires? Do you look in that area?
I certainly do. I'm a believer in youth, and if these horses performed on the track and they have an enormous pedigree in them, I'd be a believer in them. And I feel the same way about a mare. First foal of the mare is very important to me, especially a colt.
So if you're going to look at a yearling you have circled in your catalog, what's the first 1 or 2 or 3 things you look at in the stall?
In the stall?
Yeah.
Well, just that they stand properly, they got a good foot on them, they're a good eye on them, and overall that would be the major things that I look for.
We're joined by a familiar face, and that's Skip Spring of Bunny Lake fame. And Skip, you're at Harrisburg this week, but this is going to be bittersweet, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sticking around for that end of it. I'm here for tomorrow to buy a yearling, spend a little money, give it back to the breeders, then I'm off to Wyoming on a hunting trip.
And the reason that Skip is getting out of town, Bunny Lake will be sold at auction, and this is the horse of a lifetime for you, yet you've decided to sell her. Why is that?
Well, we're not really into the breeding end of it. We're not set up to be in the breeding end of it, and we board her out and breed her, and she's away from us, so we don't really enjoy her. We like to have her in our own backyard. And while she was in the backyard, she was like a part of the family, but when you send her away, it changes everything.
But yet you still have a member of her family, her first bull, Bunny's legacy.
That's right. In fact, if she'd had a colt, we probably would have sold the colt, maybe hung on to Bunny a little longer, but with the filly, we decided let's keep the filly, take a shot with the filly, and if the filly works out fine. If it doesn't, the filly's got a home, Bunny will find a good home, so everybody will be happy.
Do you have any idea, Skip, what kind of price Bunny Lake might bring? I mean, she's a horse of a year, one of the greatest mares in the history of the sport.
Well, being a pacing mare, it's kind of hard because I think she's probably one of the few or the only horse of the year pacing mares ever to go through auction, public auction. I know like Continental Victory, but she was a trotting filly, so trotting fillies would bring more money than what Bunny would bring. But, you know, I still think she'll light up the tote board pretty good.
Or what sticks out in your mind about Bunny Lake? What's your #1 highlight?
Well, at the Meadowlands, we won the Mistletoe Chalet. She was actually beat. Mike hit her with a whip, but she'd never been hit before, and she kind of sulked and she kind of backed up, and she was passed. But then he started working on her, and she came back and won by a nose. Beat some nice fillies that day, and that was our first big victory, and that was the most exciting moment that I can remember. And also the match race. The match race was something special. Like you said, we gave to the charities, and it was a no-lose situation for everybody. I mean, there wasn't a loser. Everybody won. Worldly Beauty won, Bunny Lake won, the Connections won, the charities won, and the breed itself won. I think it generated a lot of interest throughout the country, and a lot of people had come up to me and told me how much they enjoyed that match race. So,
well, the Bunny Lake ride comes to an end for Skip Spring and his wife, Wendy, this week at Harrisburg. Skip, thanks for joining us.
Okay,
Best of luck.
Sam, pleasure. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.